There's also other sunscreens I use that have other antioxidants in them. So if you're like, I'm busy, I don't have time for a morning routine, you can literally simplify it to one step. Hello and welcome to another episode of #Skinthusiast, the podcast. Today, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an episode on my kind of simplified skincare approach. If you follow me on social media, especially on Instagram, you know that I am not about the 10-step routine. I have seen so many patients come into my office with a completely wrecked skin barrier after using TikTok routines. Like they see some influencer on TikTok who's using 10, sometimes more steps, and they end up with irritation, acne, dryness, itching, and their skin ends up looking worse and even more aged than it ever has before because they're using too many products. I see this time and time again, and I've also been victim to it myself. Obviously, my job is to test skincare products, so there are certainly times in my routine when I end up overdoing it and my skin really, you can tell, my skin looks dry, dehydrated. I have more fine lines because the barrier is damaged. So I wanted to walk you through the process of simplifying your skincare routine so you can honestly get the best skin of your life. I hate using buzzy terms like that, but truly, I cannot tell you the amount of comments that I've had on my posts saying how much this advice has changed their skin. So let's start off with what it means to have a simplified routine. So I think that a skincare routine can be 3 steps at the minimum, sometimes even less, which we'll talk about, but around 5 steps at the maximum. Now, this isn't including if you want to do things like LED mask or microcurrent, which you guys know I'm a huge fan of. I'm talking about the actual topical skincare products themselves. So really anything more than 5 steps is unnecessary. And the higher and higher you go when you start approaching 7 to 10 steps, the higher the likelihood of irritation and the less likely you're going to get the results that you want. I know that seems counterintuitive because you would think the more products that you're using, the more actives that you're using, you're doing all this research, the more likely you are to have better results, but it's the exact opposite. And I think a lot of this comes from our need in society now to shop by ingredient. So with the rise of brands like The Ordinary, who really made it famous to shop by ingredient, and by the way, this is no shade to The Ordinary, I love so many of their products. They're incredible and affordable. But I think we kind of lost the plot, right? We all started trying to play our own chemist and create a routine based on the ingredients that we think we need in our routines. For example, I'll have people in my DMs all the time saying, hey, I want to use a niacinamide serum. What can you recommend? Or where should I put my niacinamide serum if I'm already using hyaluronic acid serum and azelaic acid serum? And my answer is usually you shouldn't. Okay. And also, why are you using the niacinamide serum? Most people can't even tell me why, and if that formulation or concentration is even going to help them get closer to their goals. So instead, what I like to do is shop by concern. I think this is a really efficacious and safe way to shop for your skincare. So what I mean by that is look for serums that target your concerns. So maybe I say serums, but I mean products in general. So for example, maybe you pick an acne cleanser versus a cleanser that's meant to help brighten versus a serum that's meant to help reduce hyperpigmentation. All of those things are words that you're going to look for when you're shopping for skincare so you can understand what that product is meant to do rather than trying to find out, okay, I want to reduce my acne blemishes and I also want to help with hyperpigmentation. And so these are the 5 ingredients I should look for, right? Like leave it to the experts, leave it to the chemists to formulate those products for you, and then pick 5, 7 brands that you trust. You guys know that I'm not one on using the entire line from one brand. If you want a whole episode about that, I'm happy to talk about why I consider myself brand agnostic and why I don't have why I don't ever formulate an entire regimen from one brand. But pick the brands that you trust, that have worked for you in the past, and then narrow it down to a cleanser from one brand, a vitamin C from one brand, a moisturizer from one brand, a SPF from one brand. And this isn't to say like you can have a favorite brand and a couple of your products are from them. My point is, it's not necessary to use an entire brand, which is often a common misconception when it comes to skincare. So what do those 3 to 5 steps look like? So in the morning, this is where it gets fun because you can honestly get your skincare routine down to 1 step in the morning. And I'm not lying when I say I do this a lot of mornings, especially when I have a busy morning with my daughter. I'm going to be working out and I just need to get out the door. So let's do an ideal morning routine. So you can either cleanse or you can skip. So many people, especially with dry sensitive skin, will skip their morning cleanse, and that is absolutely be okay. You can totally do that. If you're more on the oily side, or you just really crave that feeling of being refreshed in the morning and washing your face, you can absolutely pick a cleanser. You can also just splash your face with water. So this is just preference. Then key ingredients in the morning are going to be things like vitamin C. We really want that antioxidant protection in the morning before we're going to be exposed to all those free radicals from UV damage, pollution, etc. If you're really dry, you can use a moisturizer in the morning. But I will say that if your goal is to simplify your routine, there are so many incredibly moisturizing sunscreens on the market. And this is the only product in the morning that you 100% absolutely need, your sunscreen. So this can be a moisturizing sunscreen, a tinted sunscreen. There are even sunscreens that have vitamin C combined. I'll leave some of my favorites for each step below in the show notes so that you guys can see kind of a routine in action. But there are some mornings where I'm busy, I'll just pick my sunscreen with vitamin C in it. There's also other sunscreens I use that have other antioxidants in them. So if you're like, I'm busy, I don't have time for a morning routine, you can literally simplify it to one step. So to kind of conclude your morning routine, it can be as many as 4 steps. And in that case, it would be cleanse, vitamin C, moisturizer, sunscreen. Or it could be skip your cleanser, you just go vitamin C, moisturizer, sunscreen. It can be just cleanse, vitamin C, sunscreen if your sunscreen's really moisturizing. Or it could be as simple as slapping on some sunscreen in the morning. Like as long as you do that, that is the most important. And the sunscreen technology has come so far these days that there are formulations that really do help address other concerns and don't just protect your skin. So you can do a one-step morning routine that is actually incredibly effective for your goals. I tend to like to live in that 3-step space. That's just like where I feel like I've done something, I feel refreshed for the day, and I feel like I've gotten all the ingredients in that I want. So that brings me to a nighttime routine. So at night, I always recommend double cleansing. So that could be something like micellar water followed by your favorite cleanser. That could be an oil cleanser or a balm cleanser first, followed by your favorite water-based cleanser. Really your preferred method of double cleansing. It's completely up to you. What's important is that you're removing all the sunscreen, dirt, grime, oil from the day. And I always say, if you're wearing enough sunscreen, you need to double cleanse. There are people who say, oh, I don't need to double cleanse. I don't have that much on my face. I don't wear makeup. Then you're not wearing enough sunscreen. And that's the truth, or you're not reapplying. So you absolutely do need a double cleanse at night. It can be such a game changer in your routine. And then the next step will be your active ingredient, your serum. So for most people at night, this is usually a retinoid. I'll definitely leave my retinoid resources below because I have a whole guide on how to pick the right one for your skin type. It's just skinthusiast.com/retinoids. And it's going to literally give you a little email guide of my favorite retinoids for different skin types, how to start a retinoid, which is really key, and so many other retinoid tips. So for most people, that's what their nighttime serum is going to be. It may be also a hyperpigmentation or lightening serum. It may be a combination of both. There are amazing combo products now that have retinol and ingredients to help lighten hyperpigmentation, like Mother Science has one. There's a ton others. And again, this is where shopping by concern is so incredible because we know retinol does help inadvertently with hyperpigmentation. So when you're shopping for a hyperpigmentation serum, a lot of them will already have a retinol in it. So you don't have to go building a routine ingredient by ingredient. Another option would be something like a peeling pad. That would be a great step to use after cleansing at night in your nighttime routine before your moisturizer. You can alternate these things. You don't have to use a retinoid every night. You can alternate your retinol and your peel pad. It really depends on what works best for your skin. This is what it all comes down to, understanding what works best for your skin. And then after your active product at night, you can then go in with your moisturizer. There's some caveats here. You'll know if you followed me for a while. If you're just starting out on a retinoid, especially a higher strength, I will often recommend swapping the order so that you'll cleanse, then moisturizer, then retinoid. And this kind of prevents some of that retinoid from penetrating the skin, which is a good thing in this case because it acts as a bit of a buffer while you're still getting the benefit of the retinoid. It's not all penetrating the skin, so you have a little bit of buffer from that irritation. Again, I cover all of this in that retinoid guide, so if this sounds like you're just starting a retinoid, definitely give that a read. But for most of us, it's going to be our double cleanse, then our active product, and then our moisturizer. And your moisturizer at nighttime might be different than daytime. It might not. For me, I'll usually use the same one morning and night. I find sometimes with oily patients, they like something a little bit more mattifying during the day, and they might like something a little bit more heavy at night. So you just, again, you have to play around with what works best for your skin. When it comes to moisturizers, I really like things like ceramides. That's the number one most important. Cholesterol, other fatty acids, really important for repairing our skin barrier, especially if we're using active ingredients. This episode is brought to you by, well, me. Skinthusiast.com is your one-stop shop for all things skin, hair, and beauty. I have countless blog posts to educate you on all the skin concerns and most common skin questions I receive. We also have a complete skincare basics guide on our shop page, as well as the cutest In My Skin era crew necks. If you want to support the show, please head over to skinthusiast.com/shop. And don't forget to rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. So you can see how easy it is to get your morning and nighttime routine down to 3 to 5 steps. Now, I get a lot of pushback on social media if I stray from this. Like if I share my routine and it's 5 steps, or I'm adding in my microcurrent, etc., people will push back and say something like, well, I thought a 3-step routine is all you need. A 3-step routine is all you need, okay? I'm very clear about that. I'm also clear about the fact that once you get your 3-step routine down, you have a sunscreen, you have a vitamin C, and you have a retinoid, you can build from there if your skin tolerates. So that's the key. Start with the essentials that are clinically proven to improve your skin. And if you never do anything else for the rest of your life, you are going to be set up for the best skin that you possibly could have, especially if you're diligent about sun exposure. That's all you need. If you want to build from there, you absolutely can. And I want to teach you how to do that safe and efficaciously. It's when we start adding in 7, 10 steps without any real rhyme or reason, or maybe you think you have a rhyme or reason, but you're kind of following what everyone else is telling you to do and not really looking into your specific skin type. That's when we get into trouble. And once you wreck your skin barrier, it can be challenging to get it back to where it was. So if you have already wrecked your skin barrier, if you've tried too many products, in that case, what I recommend doing is using a very simple cleanser, a simple moisturizer, and a simple sunscreen during the day. So one of the brands I love for this is Cetaphil because it's incredibly gentle. It's not going to strip the skin barrier. It's going to really support the skin barrier. In fact, some of their products are clinically proven to repair the skin barrier in 1 week, which is definitely what you want if you've overdone it with products. So I'll link some of those below. And then a mineral sunscreen. Mineral sunscreen isn't a must, but they can be a little bit less irritating than chemical sunscreens. Something else that you want to note is that if you have impaired your skin barrier, even water can sting. So often I'll have patients come in, especially after starting a prescription retinoid, and they'll say something like, well, this product I used to use it, this moisturizer I've used for years, but all of a sudden it's stinging my skin. This is not uncommon. Once the skin barrier is impaired, anything can sting it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the product is bad for you, but it does mean we want to scale back on everything else we're using and use really gentle and bland products. And if you're kind of unsure of what skin type you have, there's a resource that we use in clinic called Skin Type Solutions that I highly recommend. I'll leave a link below where you can log on and take their quiz, and it will give you one of 16 different skin types. Like, it's incredible. And that really helps you kind of determine what products are best for you. For example, my skin type is called DSPW, which means I'm dry, sensitive, pigment prone, and wrinkle prone. So my entire routine is based on those 4 barriers to skin health. And this is the exact system I use for my patients too. So I first get their skin type, and then I create their 3 to 5 step regimen based on that. So I'll leave a link below if you guys are curious about what your skin type is. It will also show you different products that you can use too, based on your skin type. So like products that have actually scientifically been chosen for your skin type, and there's hundreds of brands on there. Like, it's not about buying into one brand, it's just about finding what works for your skin, again, in a brand agnostic approach. If you guys want to hear more about the system that I use, I can definitely do like a full episode on that. That might be helpful. So let me know on Instagram. You can DM me, or let me know if you want a full breakdown on how I use the system in clinic and like what exactly it is. So that's kind of my simplified approach to skincare. If you want a full guide, you can go to skinthusiast.com/simple skincare. Again, I'll leave all this below for you guys so it's easy for you to click through. And this is how I recommend you start your routine. If you want to then elevate it after you've gotten your 3-step simple skincare routine down, if you're really like, well, how do I maximize my cleanser? Like, is there an active cleanser I could be using for my specific skin type? Is there a serum I could be using for my hyperpigmentation? What order should I be using things? All of that. I have a full skincare guide on the website. If you go to skinthusiast.com/shop, I have a comprehensive skincare guide that is basically like a visit with me in the office. This is how I create a regimen for my patients. So all that to say, you can absolutely simplify your skincare routine and get amazing, stellar, incredible results. And oftentimes when you stray from that and you start adding too many products, that's when things go awry. And that's when you end up with more issues. And yeah, that can be things like dryness and irritation from your skin barrier, but it can also be worsening acne breakouts. It can be worsening hyperpigmentation because inflammation worsens hyperpigmentation. So if you're someone who's dealing with something like melasma and you're using a lot of products that are causing even low-grade inflammation in the skin that you might not realize, that could be making your hyperpigmentation worse. It could be making your fine lines and wrinkles worse, even if you're using ingredients that are meant to treat fine lines and wrinkles. So you can see skincare is incredibly nuanced, and that's why I take issue with so many of the routines and so much of the content I see on social media, because skincare is not one size fits all. I had someone in my DMs earlier this week, and she sent me a photo from another quote unquote skincare expert who was sharing a routine, and it literally said like something like, "Oh, girlies, this is the routine you should use. This is a customized routine that is going to be amazing for your skin." And her first comment was, "Well, it's not customized if you're sending it to your thousands of followers on stories," which I laughed at. I'm like, yep, that's so true. And it was, I think, a 10-step routine. Of course, most of the products were from the same brand, because that's what a lot of people will do, is recommend, because they carry one brand in their office or a few brands, they get a kickback the more that they sell from that brand. So they want you to go home with as many products as possible from that brand. And this follower who sent me this message was like, "This is what I have been doing. This is what the advice I have been following, and my skin was a wreck." And she was like, "As soon as I just simplified it to the products I really needed and nothing that I didn't, my skin is so much happier." And again, I can echo this from a personal standpoint. This is what's best for my skin. And I can also echo this from the thousands of patients that I've seen in clinic, and I've helped their skin to get back to a better place while also looking forward, preventing the premature signs of aging and helping them get to the best skin quality possible. And it's going to save you money, which is the best part. We don't need to be blowing all of our money on skincare. Just find a few products that work for you and stick with them. Consistency is key, and that can be boring and not fun at all, especially in this world of shiny objects. But the more you stick with what you're using, the better. Some of these ingredients take months or even years to see the benefit. For example, vitamin C, can it help brighten a little bit? Sure. But the real long game of vitamin C is that it helps increase your collagen production. That's insane. That's amazing. And it helps protect the collagen you already have by working synergistically with your sunscreen to protect you from UV exposure. This is something you won't see for years down the road, right? This is a long game product that you use in your routine every single night for years, for decades, okay? Until you're really reaping those benefits. So this isn't one of those things where you use a bottle and you're like, "I didn't see a difference." I don't care if you didn't see a difference. We know vitamin C is clinically proven to have those collagen building benefits, so use it forever. Don't stop. And if that means you have to use a budget product, please do. There's so many great budget vitamin C's out there. That's also included in my Simple Skincare Guide. There's a whole section on there, vitamin C's for every budget and skin type. Same with retinoids. Are you going to notice some brightening properties just from that increased cell turnover? Sure. Are you going to notice smoother texture? Of course. But what's really beneficial about these retinoids are, what happens years down the road. I posted a viral video one time, and people honestly didn't believe it because it is truly an unbelievable photo, but it was a side-by-side before and after of a woman probably in her 70s who was using prescription tretinoin for 26 months, and her skin looked unbelievable. Now, this is an extreme case, right? She's using prescription, and it's also, the results aren't typical, but what I'm saying is it's years before you really are going to notice the benefits. And you might be someone who can't even appreciate those benefits because 5 or 10 years down the road, you don't necessarily know what your skin would have looked like without them. But for most of us, we can guess, right? And I can certainly tell you that my skin would not be in this great of shape without daily sunscreen, vitamin C, and retinoids, especially because I used to be a sun worshiper. I was, in the tanning beds in high school before prom. So many regrets. But my skin is in such a good place. It looks better than it did when I was 18 years old. And that's all because of a simplified but consistent routine. I use my skincare every single day. So I hope these tips have been helpful for you guys. I wanted to keep this short and sweet because the whole point of this is to simplify your routine. Again, I'll leave all the resources below so that you can do that effectively. And if you've done this and seen results, please let me know. Please leave us a review on the show. Let us know how your skincare routine is going since you started listening to this episode. And definitely share this episode to your stories. I'm going to be picking some listeners to send a box of Skin Enthusiast goodies to, just to show my appreciation for you sharing it with your friends on stories. Be sure to tag me in that. And I will talk to you next week, Skin Enthusiasts.